We're Tracy and James McCoy, and this is the Fish Slap Effect podcast. Where leaders, creators, and disruptors collide. Each week, we bring you honest conversations about business, marketing, leadership, creativity, and the bold ideas that help people stand out in a noisy world. Whether you're building a brand, growing a business, or looking for fresh inspiration, you're in the right place. Let's make a splash. So we just had some fun noise outside, and I guess that was the indicator that we should go ahead and push play on the podcast and get started. So we were thinking about it and really kind of talking through what I wanted to talk about today and James wanted to talk about today. And we're really thinking about this episode that we had done on What Makes a Splash, where I talked a lot about the August advantage and how getting started in August to plan your fourth quarter strategies was a smart move because we're getting things moving sooner than later. We're not waiting. And when James and I were talking about the episode and we were talking about what we wanted to talk about today, we realized that the real conversation isn't about August. It's about waiting. Because if we're honest, every business owner has something that they've been waiting to do.
Do you know what I'm not going to wait to do?
What aren't you going to wait to do?
I'm not going to wait to welcome everybody to the Fish Slap Effect podcast, where leaders, creators, and disruptors collide. So welcome to the episode. We're going to be talking about the cost of waiting today. Before we jump into it, I got a question.
Okay.
What's a phrase or two? Mm-hmm. One phrase or two. Executive producer Jess, you're going to play along too. What's a phrase or two that you use every day?
No.
Says the woman with two children. I use "it's all good" probably almost every day. It's all good.
Well, and tying into this episode, and I think that this is just because we have kids, I'd say just a second a lot.
Just a second?
And just a second.
Jess, we're coming to you next.
Not
to be that guy, but I do use the phrase "I love you" a lot.
Oh, tear. I use that a lot too.
Whether it's my wife or whether it's my kids or
yes.
That's about it.
Not Coco.
No, but anyway. So Jess, you got a phrase you could throw at us?
All the things.
I love it. I also use, what do you think? I use that a lot. And I literally just caught myself with one of the people on the team. They're like, hey, do you want me to route my content ABC or 1, 2, 3? And I literally am like, well, what do you think you should do? So yeah, there's any other phrases? Son of a, just kidding. You don't use that one.
No, there's some phrases that I probably shouldn't say on the podcast.
That's all good. So why wait? Why wait? That's the question, Trace.
I think that's really the biggest thing that we all run into is that, business owners, when you're entrepreneur, you're very excited about something. And then all of a sudden you get a little bit paralyzed and afraid, and you're like, okay, I want to do all these things. And then all of a sudden it's like dramatic pause. Mm-hmm. And it's, there's all these reasons why we might wait, why we might pause, why we might not do something. Maybe we're waiting for things to slow down. We feel like life is too busy right now. That's one that I feel like in the summertime, a lot of people will lean on. Even myself, I'm guilty of it. I'm like,
the kids are out of school.
Yeah, we'll do that when the kids get back into school, and then it never ends up happening. Or, I'm going to wait until it's perfect. That's my biggest pitfall, is that a lot of times I'll try to perfect something before I take the leap. So I think a lot of people do that where, you're so concerned about making sure that it's exactly what you want that you never put it out there. And things are always going to change and be able to be evolved. So that's something that I've had to learn and really adapt for myself, mm-hmm. With waiting until it's perfect or waiting until we're ready, just different things like that. Those tend to be, and from what I've seen with businesses, they're like waiting for the perfect time or, oh yeah, we'll do that, but we need to wait and do this later. And it's like 3-4 months go by. And then we finally created that video content that we've been talking about mm-hmm. for 2 years.
So while you sip your tea, I've created an acronym.
What's your acronym?
An acronym for the word wait.
What's that?
You ready?
I like this. I'm going to write down.
Jess has the pause button and the mute button on hold. You just hover your hand right there. You don't have to write it down if you don't want to.
No, I like it.
The W in wait is wasted opportunity. That's the W.
Okay.
And to your point, sometimes, like with us, I can think of several things that we could have done in our business a lot sooner and been a lot more efficient and not had as many pain points.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's a wasted opportunity. Um, A, attention is being won by your competition or by somebody else.
Mm.
WAI, attention's being won by somebody else.
Oh wow.
Inactivity equals invisibility.
Wow.
Makes you invisible. I don't know if you talked about it, how deep you went when you're talking about August, but one thing I was reading about preparing for the fourth quarter was schedule all your holiday content now before you get too busy. So you actually have content for the holidays.
Right.
So that would definitely be one of those. Inactivity equals invisibility. And T, I like this. Time favors the active, so
Hmm.
that you can continuously have that momentum. So wait, WAIT. There you go.
I love
So,
it. That's awesome.
waiting until things slow down, waiting until we have more money. Another thing I kind of realized when we were talking about the weight topic, it's like weight doesn't save you money because you're eventually going to have to spend it anyway.
Right.
Um, think about it. Think about like if it's marketing or if it's investment in yourself or in your business, it's just that it's an investment
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to pay returns as opposed to if you don't do it, we can absolutely not going to pay returns. That's for
Yeah.
sure. Awesome. So, what I typically see in businesses that wait too long is they miss the boat. And then when they try to jump back into the game, for lack of a better phrase, they almost seem irrelevant because they're kind of behind.
Right.
It's kind of like, imagine like if you were completely inactive and you jumped onto the, heavens forbid, the AI train right now and you started developing all your
I'm so
content.
overwhelmed.
Well, you'd be like behind the curve because there's already a negative backlash on people doing nothing but AI content, and then here you come crashing in and doing it. I mean, it would be terrible. So, um, marketing is often the first thing people delay or postpone because they don't see the return. Would you say? What would you
I
say in
think,
your experience?
well, and I think that's one that with some people, they're like, oh, yeah, we need to do this brand refresh or we need to do these things, but there's not an immediate return on investment. Like changing your logo and refreshing your brand and making it look more professional isn't necessarily going to immediately, like the next day after you spend, let's say you spend $3,000 or $5,000 on a complete new website brand refresh. It's not like tomorrow, the day it's live, all of a sudden 500 people are going to call your business. It may take you a little longer to recoup that. However, what are you losing in the interim? Now you're building up more brand credibility and you're giving your website an opportunity to be seen, and things like that. I think sometimes people expect a very immediate return on things that aren't necessarily immediate, but it's a longer term investment. Like you just bought your house and now it's going to continue to grow equity. I think about websites sort of like that because once the site is built and the right structures in place, now it can continue to grow and continue to create value and add value and help you grow. But if you have like a horrible website that is super old, like I was just looking at one that was still one of the old sites that aren't mobile friendly, that are the HTML sites. And if this organization stays on a site like that and they don't upgrade, how much is that going to hurt their memberships and organizations when people coming in are in their 30s and 40s and they're expecting to see something that's responsive and mobile friendly?
So, from get fish slapped perspective, what are some things like you could go the whole history of the company. What are some things you wish we wouldn't have waited so long on to
Hmm.
do? And I'm going to say two, and you're probably going to be like, this guy's crazy. He's finally listening to me. But um, so, like for example, while you're turning your pages, I'll do one. Like I wish we wouldn't have waited until year 12 to start to reinvest in ourselves, like whether it's training or whether it's reading a book or get taking better care of each other, from getting in shape or eating or whatnot. I wish we would have done that years ago. What about you?
Same. I definitely can agree with that. And I do think like some things that I wish we would have started sooner were probably doing a better job of developing the processes that we put on paper. When our team was small, we were just kind of flying by the seat of our
Hmm.
pants almost. We were growing and things were moving quickly. we developed core values, but that was years after the business had started. So thinking back, it would have been smart on our behalf to have done that right in the very beginning and helped set that foundation. I think that would have been great.
And I can remember when we used to not write a weekly schedule,
Oh, yeah.
and then we'd get so frustrated because somebody wouldn't come in or this, that, and the other thing. And then we're like, duh, we don't have a schedule. Maybe we should have a schedule to make more accountability, et cetera, et cetera. I do think also like reviewing our structure in regards to like pricing and packages and whatnot. I wish we would have done that sooner, but I was afraid that, we'd get the perception of being too expensive or not approachable or.
Well, and I think that's one of the things too, where, like thinking about, what that costs you, like if you're waiting to change prices or to basically assert your value. I think that that's one that I definitely think about that and, asking for what you're worth. Because in the early days, you're just excited and you're kind of nervous about putting yourself out there. And you don't, like you said, you don't want to price yourselves out of the market.
Mm-hmm.
You want to stay competitive, but you also don't want to be too inexpensive. And I think that's where, I feel like it's really important to properly price our services and also make sure that people, that there's value created, because that is definitely one thing that I think it would have been good in the very beginning to be a little bit more consistent with.
And I think also like after investing in ourselves, we've always done a pretty good job of investing in the business from an equipment perspective. I think sometimes I personally have gotten ahead of the curve too much. Like, we bought this mixer that we're using, switcher that we're using right now. We used it for a project. It probably gathered dust for
Yeah, a couple years.
I don't know how many years. But I think it's an investment that's paying off now. We see other pieces of business coming in that we can potentially use it. I mean, thankfully, we hired somebody that has some experience. Shout out to the executive producer, Jess.
Yes.
So we have somebody, it's not just us doing it. And I'm sure there's other business owners too tend to struggle, with whether they should add to the staff, whether they should grow the team. Maybe think about not growing the team in the middle of season as opposed to maybe biting the bullet for the next few weeks now before season ramps up and have somebody prepared to do a great job for you. I think one of the biggest mistakes I've ever made with Get Fish Slapped was not either A, keeping my hand on it, or defending the culture and the standards. Like I am unapologetically over the top about our culture and our standards right now. And I've softened it. I'm not as jerky as I used to be in my previous career, but I think that's one thing that if I could tell anybody is whatever your culture is of your business or whatever the standard. I know it's almost 30 odd days till football season starts. Get excited.
Yay.
There was a former football coach that used to always say, and it's kind of redundant, but it's kind of funny. He used to say, the standard's the standard. Whether it's raining, whether it's sunny, whether you're tired, whether whatever, the standard is the standard. And I think that's one thing I wish I would have been more dug in about and challenged people about.
Yeah, I agree, because I think sometimes you get so busy that you accept some mediocrity and you accept certain things as okay just because you're busy and things are functioning and they're working okay or they're working well. So maybe everything appears on the surface to be working well. So you're like, well, we'll just kind of leave it alone. And then leaving it alone can fester and turn into so much more and completely destroy your culture. So yeah, that's definitely something that I think waiting and not being more aggressive on was something that I wish I would have done sooner. So there's a lot of those, like I wish I would have did this sooner. And then there's certain things that, I may be glad that I waited, maybe not making a hire too quickly and hiring the wrong person. That's one thing that really thoughtful about now and who we hire. And, just as we've focused more on our culture to make sure that it's the right person that's going to be the right fit with our team.
Yeah, absolutely. We owe it to the other fellow fish slappers.
Yes, we do.
We sure do. So waiting doesn't usually cost you today. When does waiting come back to haunt you or cost you? Would it be like 6 months from now,
I
maybe?
think it can be, 3 months from now, 6 months
Hmm.
from now, when you look at your future, your business in the future, and depending on what it was that you waited for, it can just become a snowball effect where you start seeing the impact in a couple of months and then it just keeps going and going and going. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I should have did this months
Hmm.
ago or a year ago or whatever it may be. And now you're sitting in that sea of regret, or you may have missed the opportunity to move forward faster on something.
The networking event you skipped, the process you never documented. Definitely get your little process notebook. Makes life so much easier. The customer you didn't follow up with, that doesn't happen, but it happens sometimes. Even if like and I know from my end, and I'm sure you can comment on this too. You spend an hour and a half or 2 hours just doing the research, creating the proposal, asking three people what they think. Hey, what do you think? Hey, there's my phrase. Um,
Yes.
and then you send it and you don't get a response back, or you get the TBNT, thanks, but no thanks, et cetera, et cetera. But you just got to keep grinding. You got to keep moving forward. So, and each tiny delay, whether it's a project, whether it's a content, whether it's hiring, whether it's whatever, it just compounds itself.
Oh yeah, it's a snowball effect for
And it just
sure.
keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And, then the next thing you know, it's too hard to manage. So, for us people that are, some people, not me, okay, me, that are waiting, what are some tips or advice we could share with them? I know I always like to have small victories first. So I
Hmm.
don't know if you have anything like that, or I like to do, as silly as it sounds, I like to do what doesn't make me feel comfortable first and get it out of the way and then have a great day. So what about you? Are there any tools that you use to move yourself forward or push yourself when you feel yourself kind of sliding into the weight zone?
Well, I think for me, I really try to look at what I need to work on and what I need to do every day. And I
Hmm.
have the tasks and then what's urgent and what's important. And then I have my project list. And I think that's where, with the projects for me, originally I just would have the project list and I wouldn't really set deadlines. So then they just sit there and I'd never finish the projects because I took care of everything that was urgent and important. And maybe these projects were like a great, they would be great, but it wasn't urgent. It was something that I wanted to do. And then they just didn't take precedence. So I started adding deadlines for myself on those to try to create urgency around those. So for me, that is something that really helps me a lot. And, writing down that thing that I've been avoiding and haven't wanted to do and try to put that at the top of the list to try to get it done.
Got it. So what stresses you out more when it comes to something like, waiting to start? Is it the first step, or projecting in your head how it's going to be done, the finish?
Depends on what it is. I think sometimes I'll get overwhelmed with everything that is involved
Hmm.
in whatever the project is that I'm waiting on. And then that'll make me crazy.
Hmm.
And then it's like, okay, where do I start? So that's one piece. And then another one is like some tasks that I don't know, that I know that maybe don't have to get done like exactly today. Then they drop off your plate and it's like, oh, 3 weeks later, now it really does need to get done today. So those are the ones that are my arch nemesis.
Okay, got it. So bringing it back to August, maybe the episode wasn't really about planning for the fourth quarter. It was deciding if you're done waiting. Are you done waiting?
Yes. I'm done
We're done
waiting.
waiting.
Let's go.
We're done
What are we going
waiting.
to tackle this week?
Who wants to hear about this acronym one more time?
Yes, this is a great
Nobody. Just
acronym.
thank you very much. I love 3-word phrases and I love acronyms.
Well, and that's
Remember,
a
you
really good one. Yes.
ever since we've been together, I've always had a
You
three-word
have.
phrase. I
You
love you.
Yes,
I
the
love you
three-word phrase.
too.
Yeah, wasted opportunity, attention won by competition,
Yep.
inactivity equals
Inactivity.
invisibility,
That's right.
and T for time favors the active. I
There you
love
go.
that. That is
You're
so
welcome.
good.
There you
Yes.
go. So,
Need to put that on a big sign and hang it on the
there you
wall.
go. Business
I
isn't
love
built
it.
on perfect timing. Somebody wrote on my paper, it's built on consistent action.
Yes.
And that's true. So, you maybe get motivated, maybe don't, they always say you begin with the end in mind. I've always heard that.
Hmm.
But maybe it's just that one small step, that one little thing that you can fix, or you can change, you could positively impact, or I hate to say this, but because it's the A word, accountability. I always find if I tell somebody I'm going to do something, I can get it done. So like having that accountability person at work, even if it's just somebody you share an office with, say, hey, I'm going to have this done by X day, et cetera, et cetera. So remember, every big wave starts with a single splash, wave, splash, fish
Yes.
slap, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks for spending some time with me today, Tracy. I appreciate it.
Thanks for spending some time with me, James,
Executive
and for
producer
that.
Jess, thanks for hanging out.
Yes, and thanks for that great acronym. That's
You're welcome.
incredible.
So until next time, keep building something worth talking about. Stop waiting and keep on making a splash.